At 5:40 in the afternoon, a building team is still comfortable with the plan. A routine update is scheduled for 6. The work should take 20 minutes. At 6:12, the console says complete. At 7:05, a tenant reports that several rooms are getting warm. The access desk sees an unexpected warning, and nobody is sure who can call the vendor back or reverse the change. The update was small. The operational footprint was not.
That is the uncomfortable gap between finishing the work and proving the building is okay.
And the first question is not, did the update install? It is, what breaks if this goes down? Then, who notices first and who is prepared to respond?
Welcome to Built, Wired, and Secured. I'm Alex Morgan. Today, we're talking about how to make changes to connected building systems without turning a routine maintenance window into an avoidable operational event. Michael works from the property and continuity side. James brings the facilities and reliability perspective. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here.
Thanks, Alex. This is one of those subjects that sounds administrative until you're standing in the consequences.
So, let me start with the question teams often ask too late. A request comes in marked routine maintenance. What do you need to know before anybody chooses a date?
What exactly is changing? Not just the name of the system, but the component, service, or sequence being touched. Then, what should the system do while the work is happening? And what should normal look like afterward? If those answers are fuzzy, the calendar is getting ahead of the plan.
I would put the operating impact right beside that question.
The people and workflows that could notice it.
Exactly. A change may involve one controller, but the effect could show up as comfort complaints, an altered access workflow, a delayed alert, or a service interruption that matters to a tenant's business. I do not mean every occupant joins a technical meeting. I mean someone with operational ownership has considered the human effect before approval.
And this is where I push back a little. If we pull every possible stakeholder into every small task, people start treating the process as bureaucracy. Then they work around it.
I agree about avoiding bureaucracy. I do not agree that operational review is the same thing as inviting the whole building.
Wait, so who gets pulled in and who only gets informed?
Pull in the person who owns the affected operation, the person doing the work, and someone who can observe the result. Inform the groups that may experience a temporary effect. If the change has no meaningful dependency and no occupied impact, that conversation can be short.
Yes, the review should expand with the risk, not with someone's fear of missing a distribution list.
That is a useful distinction. The question is not, how many people can we copy? It is, whose decision or response would change if this work went differently than expected?
Right, and look at the conditions around the work. 6 p.m. on a quiet day is not automatically safe. Is the building occupied? Is there a major event? Is the engineering team already handling another problem? Is the next person in the response chain actually reachable? The equipment may be the same, but the risk changes with the environment.
So, vendor availability should not drive the window by itself.
It is one input, not the decision. That is fine until it fails. If the vendor is available, but the person who verifies the building is leaving, or the operations lead cannot be reached, the window is available in theory and unsupported in reality.
I've seen that exact shape of plan. Everyone is technically assigned. The person with the useful knowledge is in another meeting, the facilities engineer gets pulled into a separate call, and the update finishes before anyone has agreed on what to watch.
That sounds like the composite scenario from the opening.
It is a composite, but it is familiar. The work starts at 6. By 6:20, the technical screen looks normal. At 6:40, the person expected to watch the next operating sequence is pulled away. The following morning, a few spaces are uncomfortable. Now the team is trying to reconstruct what happened from memory because nobody recorded the baseline or named a rollback trigger. Reliability starts with disciplined maintenance, and that means preparing for the period after the technician says, finished.
And the tenant does not experience a technical completion. They experience the room, the door, the alert, or the workflow.
Which brings us to communication. What should people actually be told before the work begins?
The timing, the possible effect, the expected duration, and the channel for reporting a problem. Not a dramatic warning, and not false certainty. Saying maintenance may occur overnight tells a tenant very little. Saying a shared service may respond slowly between 10 and 11, with an operations contact if the work extends, gives them something they can use.
Right, because overnight can mean almost anything.
And if there is a temporary workaround, explain that too. Who watches the condition manually? Who uses the temporary procedure? When does it end? A workaround should not be an improvised favor from whoever happens to be on shift.
Let's say the date is chosen and the people are aligned. What makes it a real go decision rather than a hopeful one?
We know what success looks like.
And we know what normal looked like before the change.
Yes, we know the evidence that would make us pause or roll back, and the people who own the affected operation are present or reachable. If any of those pieces is missing, the work may still be possible, but the team should be honest that it is proceeding with uncertainty.
The baseline does not need to be a giant report. Record the important normal conditions, a schedule, an expected response, a few operating readings, or a workflow check. Enough to compare before and after. Without that, verification becomes somebody saying, "It seems fine."
And a console check is not the same as an operational check.
Not at all. The dashboard may look normal while people are seeing something else. Ask the operations team. Ask the service owner. Use occupant feedback when it is relevant. Here is the downstream impact. The person reporting a symptom may be providing the first useful verification.
And observe long enough to catch the next normal sequence. A command can execute correctly and still fail when the schedule changes, the building fills, or the system has to hand information to another system. Preventative maintenance beats emergency repairs every time. But prevention includes watching what happens after the update.
What happens when someone reports a problem after the window and the checklist is already marked complete?
Curiosity first. What changed? What was observed? When did it start? Is it still happening? Do not begin by deciding who is at fault. Blame makes people defend their version of events. A good response gets the building stable and preserves the facts.
A review is not a courtroom. Maybe the technical work was correct and the timing was poor. Maybe the plan named the equipment but missed the operating sequence. Maybe the observation period ended too soon. Trust the process, but improve the process when reality shows you a gap.
That gives us the principle. Now make it usable. If a team has 5 minutes before a lower risk change, what conversation should happen?
Start with the change itself. What are we touching and what should happen during and after the work?
Then ask what could be affected. Not just equipment, systems, occupants, services, and workflows. That question catches the things that do not appear on the original work request.
Who needs to be named?
The person doing the work, the person observing operations, and the person who can say pause or roll back. They may be the same person on a small task. They may be 3 different people on a connected change.
Next, what will prove success? And how long will we observe? If nobody can answer that, the work is not complete when installation ends.
And finally, what do we communicate, and where does an unexpected effect go? 5 questions, not 5 layers of approval.
Exactly. The deeper the dependency or the greater occupied impact, the deeper the review. Technology should support operations, not complicate them.
And escalation should be ordinary. If the window runs long, a condition moves outside the expected range, or a responsible person cannot be reached, the team should already know what happens next.
So the action for listeners is straightforward. Pick one upcoming change, bring together the relevant facilities, IT, service, and contractor contacts. In a short conversation, write down who approves, who communicates, who verifies, and who responds if the result is different from the plan.
The best day in operations is the one nobody notices. Usually that quiet result was prepared in advance.
And when people do notice, they should notice an organized response, clear ownership, honest expectations, and a path back to normal.
That wraps up this episode of Built, Wired, and Secured. Today we explored why a maintenance window is really a coordination practice. Define the change, consider the operational footprint, match the review to the risk, communicate clearly, and verify the building beyond the technical console. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us. Until next time, make sure the systems you're responsible for are built to last, wired with intention, and secured for the real world.
Built to last, wired with intention, secured for the real world.